Sabko namaskar. Ellarigu namaskara. I, Usha Hegde, take great pleasure in welcoming each and every one of you to a mind-blowing and much-awaited session with Dr. Deepa Malik, an exceptional personality, a true symbol of grit, courage, and unstoppable spirit. Deepa Malik, a celebrated para-athlete from Haryana, became the first Indian woman to win a medal at the Paralympic Games, bringing home silver from Rio 2016. Having participated in international events such as Asian Para Games, IPC Athletics World Championships, and Paralympics, Dr. Deepa has won a total of unthinkable 23 international medals. Yes, 23 international medals across different disciplines like discus throw, javelin, and shot put. Deepa Malik has received numerous prestigious awards for her achievements in parasports and her contributions to society at large. Some of her notable awards include the Padma Shri, Arjuna Award, and the major Khel Ratna Award, which is India's highest sporting honor. She was also recognized as a Global Woman of the Year by International Paralympic Committee. Fondly called the woman on wheels, she embodies the philosophy that life is not to be endured but celebrated every single day. Her life is a glowing reminder of this quote: if everything around you seems dark, look again. You may be the light. ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ದೀಪ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೆಳಕು. In Kannada, Deepa means light. And Deepa, you truly are the light. Through every challenge, you have shown the world that hope is not just a word, but a way of life. We welcome you to my showroom. Can we have the first video, please?
एक खिलाड़ी के रूप में तो सारा हिंदुस्तान जानता है दीपा को, लेकिन बहुत कम लोगों को पता होगा कि इससे बढ़िया मैंने कोई मोटिवेटर नहीं देखा है. कभी सुनिए उसको. शरीर का आधा हिस्सा काम नहीं कर रहा है, लेकिन जब भी बात करती है नए सपनों की बातें करती है, नए उमंग की बात करती है, नए हौसले की चरितार्थ करने की बात करती है. ये हैं लोग, और ये हमारी युवा पीढ़ी के हीरो है.
दिव्यांग बेटे बेटियों के लिए प्रेरणा का अक्षय स्रोत बने.
So what better way of introducing Deepa Malik to you all audience. Let's have her on the stage with a big round of applause, please.
Thank you.
So with that brief introduction, I'm sure everyone is eager and awaiting the session to hear from the horse's mouth herself. So let's start off with few question and answer questions and wrap it up with few rapid fire questions in the end. Deepa, so let's begin at the very beginning. Could you take us through your journey? How did sports become your lifeline and passion?
I think sports was more like a little bit of a rebel in me, a little bit of need,
Okay.
and also a medium which I chose to kind of changed the perception towards me sitting on the wheelchair. Disability happened too many times in my life. First time when I lost sensation and motor power in my lower limbs when I was just 5 years old. Then it took about 2 years of diagnosis, a long stay in the hospital as a small little girl, and then finally being diagnosed life-threatening surgery because it was due to the compression on the spinal cord. The tumor was there. And then a long stint with rehabilitation and physiotherapy. To learn to walk again, to learn to sit again.
So this
from
was
4
at
years,
what age?
5 years to 9
9
years.
years.
So
Okay.
there's 4 years that I was in and out of hospital, practically in hospital for a couple of years. And even as a young child, I heard a lot about how people looked at a girl child in a severe disability where there was something different in the body, in the appearance. People often define regular. So in their definition, I was not a regular child because I did not walk. Uh, and that kind of stayed in my subconscious. You know, sometimes the visits from relatives was more about condolences than encouraging you or something. It's okay, fine, you know, let's pray that Almighty takes her away soon and relieves her of her agony. You will also be free. You know, ultimately you have a child. You're a young couple. You can plan another child if you want to. You already have a son. So, and most of the time they would often feel sorry that my brother was being neglected because my parents were with me. So like giving priority to a girl child over a boy child. So somewhere I understood these stigmas, these impressions. And when I learned to walk again, I think sports became that medium for me. Whatever sport was being played in the school, I would be a part of it. It just gave me that validation of fitness. And as I grew up, of course, sports was also a very common base of hobbies that made me meet my husband. He was also into adventure sports, biking. I was in biking. I mean, that was also a kind of a rebel that, look, I can do what boys can do. And fairy tale marriage, first child born, I am blessed with my daughter. My daughter is barely 14 months old. She's learning to walk, and I'm celebrating my childhood in her tiny footsteps. Because my memories of my childhood were all about hospital, not walking, not walking. And when my daughter started walking, I think if I had a video camera or a mobile phone, it would be full with her walking footsteps. But unfortunately, one day she walked out of the main door because the domestic help left the main gate unlatched. Dogs, our pets, chased a cow on the road. There was a lot of noise. She ran in that direction. She got hit by a biker, had a head injury, and the left of her body got paralyzed. I took my daughter to the same Pune Command Hospital because I was also married to an army officer. My father was an army officer, and that was one of the biggest hospitals we had. It was a deja vu. You know, deja vu usually gives you a very happy feeling because you are experiencing a joy, a moment of remembrance. But for me, it was the same pediatric ward. It was the same not being able to walk, paralysis kind of a condition. And this time it was head injury, so the doctors were not even talking about her IQ levels being normal. And there was a gap of almost 2 decades. And now, whatever was there in my subconscious mind, which I remembered, actually I heard with my own ears, and I understood why my mother cried in the corner of the room when someone, because we may have, landed on the moon, we may have got computers coming in, but nothing changed about the perception of the outlook of the society towards a girl who is physically challenged. And a few years later, my tumors came back, and I was barely 30 years old. My younger daughter was 3 years old. My elder daughter was still undergoing her treatment and rehab for weakness on the left side. And my tumors, the doctor said only 7 days to celebrate walking. Either you die with it, or you die on the operation table, or you take that chance of getting them removed, but your spinal cord is going to be battered. And well, I chose life. I wanted to give myself another chance. The surgeries happened. My body slipped into a coma. The cerebral fluid leaked. Another surgery happened. And finally, I'm left till date with a chest below paralyzed body. I don't have a muscle control. I don't have temperature control in the body. My blood circulation is not as good as a normal human being. I don't have a torso balance. I can't raise both my arms together. I have more than 200 stitches between the shoulder blades. I have 7 vertebrae totally chopped. No artificial support with the help of a titanium plating or bone cementing, because every 3 years I have to go for my MRIs. A foreign body cannot take the body into the machine. And every 3 years, 2-3 years, I have to undergo a short chemo or a radiation to keep the tumors away. So the body becomes zero and I have to jump start. I don't have a bladder or a bowel control. I don't come to know when the urine is passed or the stool is passed. So I have to very consciously manage the body. But I learned it. I learned the new body. I learned to celebrate life. I think I became a great role model for my daughter, because to take her to physiotherapy became easier because I was also going to the same physiotherapist. And when she saw the mother do it, even she got encouraged to do it. And like I said, once again, the sports came to my rescue. It started with adventure sports first. Wanted to be a biker first, because I wanted to reclaim my identity of being a biker babe. And in quest of being a biker, I tried to strengthen the upper body to be able to sit strapped up. Even if I was sitting on a bike, I needed to have some power in the shoulders. And that's when I was introduced to exercising. I relearned how to do these exercises. And hydrotherapy was introduced. A swimmer in me was born. And that's how I entered the world of sports. I discovered a medium to break the stereotypical myths around a woman sitting on a wheelchair with chest below paralysis.
Wow. So guys, she made it look all so simple. But if you go through her book, you'll really feel for her, feel through every page of her, especially the childhood and the turmoil during this 30 plus years. But today when we look at her, we just can't imagine what she's gone through. Kudos
But
to
let
you.
me also tell you, it's such an honor being moderated by you. You yourself are
The honor
such
is
a
all
role
mine today,
model.
Deepa.
I mean, a total embodiment of woman of substance.
Thank you
and
so much.
defying age.
But let's talk about you today.
No, I thought
it's your
seriously.
day. No.
I thought I joined the world of sports as a swimmer at 36, and I learned how to throw a javelin at 40, and I was like really feeling great about myself till I heard, oh my God, I mean, not that I should give out her age. I really am sorry, but at 53, climbing and conquering Mount Everest. Amazing. I salute you. If only I could stand and give you a standing ovation. I think, Devika, you should stand up for me and do that. Yeah, that's for her. That's for her. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. I think we should go back to Deepa. So on page 79 of this book, Bring It On. By the way, the book is called Bring It On. So this embodies what she's endured, and she's ready for anything, and she says, bring it on, I'm ready for you. So guys, you have to read this book.
And before you ask me a question, like Ila ji also celebrated her co-author, I really want to celebrate. I want you to record this, Devika, because I want this clip to go to. So, like how Ela ji said that she was the Ved Vyasa and Miss Bedi was her Ganesha. I have Soni Sangwan as my Ganesha. She identically, like how Ela ji said that the words were mine, and she filled registers and registers of writing. And again, I think she's an old school writer, so she also we were definitely recording the Zoom sessions of narrations. She also traveled and stayed with me. We are both army wives, and but again, she has not changed the language at all. It is almost verbatim, but so a huge shout out to Soni Sangwan for being my strength.
So on page 79, she says, impregnated with joy. So this line in your inspiring biography has a very funny incident to it. It got her into trouble, almost got her into trouble, but in the end it came out as a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
Can you share this incident with the curious us?
So this was like me trying to be an author. The first time I thought I'm going to write very flashy English, and honestly, I wasn't cut out to be a doctor or engineer, and these were the only very few. Teacher, I didn't want to be because I'm a very outdoor person. To be constrained in a room was not my thing. So my parents put me to sober me down. I was quite a bashful person by the time I was growing up, riding bikes, like I said. So they were wanting to sober me down, so they put me in Sophia College, Ajmer, and I had English honors as my subject. Now, discovering the language and really how the poets, and so I was writing a letter to my then fiance, my husband, and I said, I'm thrilled with the experience of sports and was learning these words, magnificent and wow, and those good big words I was learning, and I said, I was totally impregnated with joy. And the sisters team opened the letters, and they said, so you know what they must have made of it. And I was hauled up, my father was called, he was posted in Leh Ladakh. And my father was on the post, on the snow-clad post. You've been there, you know how difficult. And in those days, there was no communication, there were no mobile phones. So he gets a wire, and then he starts walking 2 days in the snow to come down to the post. Then he sits on a mule. Then he comes down again to another post. Then he comes to Srinagar. He gets to a train. He comes to Jammu. He takes a flight to Jaipur. Then he comes by road and he comes to Ajmer. All to hear this one line. They say, and underline with red, your daughter is dating this guy. And she says, no, she's not dating. She's officially engaged. We have had the ceremony for our child, and she is going to be married to the man. She said, read what it is written. And my father said, no, it's against our dharma. It's a very private conversation between a husband and a wife. So I can't read it. She said, no, she's pregnated. So my father was like, what? And then I was called. She says, were you ever pregnant? I said, no. I mean, no, we didn't do the act. So he says, we were not allowed to. Those days were not so liberal. I didn't have my space those days. And they said, what is all this? I said, Dad, this is... Then I got the book, my literature book, from where it was taken. And then he understood. And of course, after that, my dad was a little annoyed also because of all that trouble. And I was also thrown out of the hostel because my father said one line. He said, I have sent her to get educated and not to become a nun. And that the offense was taken, and then my father was also upset. He says, no, we can't stop the two writing letters to each other. The college said, no, she will not receive letters. And I said, no, I will receive letters from my future husband. As it is, 15 din mein to ek inland aata tha. And that's how I was thrown out. But then I moved to another hostel. And Ma'am David was very nice. It was like a PG. She taught me cooking, and I could utilize that time to, do all the shopping for my wedding. So I've always felt that whenever there was a moment which was going wrong in my life, but I think Almighty and destiny was nudging me in the right direction. And I never used that word again.
So, from this humorous anecdote from her book, let's move on to some serious stuff. She's a pioneer in many firsts, and being first just doesn't happen, or you don't prepare to do something to become first, but you just follow your passion, your love for the passion, and it just happens. So, let's hear it from her. The various firsts, not just in sports, advocacy, but multiple fields that she's got. Over to you.
Yeah, I think first just happened to me because God blessed me with a very unique disability. Or I may call it unique abilities beyond this disability.
That's a nice way to look at
yes.
it.
And all I was doing was just trying to erase the taboos around the wheelchair. I wanted to tell everybody that this is not a wheelchair, it's a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
It's an extension of my body. It gives me mobility. It gives me accessibility. It gives me the freedom to go out, to explore the world, to have a regular life. The first day I went to a vendor to buy vegetables. I started a garden restaurant. To be able to feel the vegetables with my own hands and select the right size of potatoes or onions, that made my soul smile, something as simple as that. And I could not have done it if I had not been on the wheelchair. So I think the firsts were more a journey to declare that I'm all right on the wheelchair. I just wanted to add travel, fashion, happiness, holiday, party, outdoors, sports, fun, frolic, to the term disability or to the term wheelchair bound. I wanted to tell people that I'm wheelchair liberated. And to do that, I had to do some out of the box things. I thought, let me do these crazy things. First, of course, it feeds my own adrenal rush and the adventurous babe that I have always been. And at the same time, it's going to give out a shock treatment into the society. Let me do something where media would be interested to write about. Because if I say I'm all right on a chair, hey people, I'm happy, I'm learning what to eat, what not to eat, how to manage my bladder, nobody will be interested. If you have to create a change or create the ripple effect, you have to throw the stone into the water. So that's what the firsts were all about. I do have a glimpse of some firsts. Firsts don't come easy because you don't, for me, I couldn't walk, and neither had any footsteps to follow. You had to really dig your own well and bring the water out. Thousands of permissions, thousands of emails, creating sponsorships, asking people to make those bikes, those things. So it was a lot of struggle, but I think it was worth it in the end. And I want to share this video with you all.
Let's show the audience the video so they'll understand it better.
Some firsts are listed here. And that's why we're sitting in a corner, because we want to use the screen.
Now on to the story of a champion who overcame all odds to become a sports star in her own right.
Malik has won mentions in the Limca Book of Records in 2 different categories. In January this year, she set a new record for riding a special bike for 55 kilometers at a stretch. She backstroked against the Yamuna currents for a kilometer.
I trained for 3 months at Lakshmi Bai National Institute of Physical Education at Gwalior, and it was hard work because my coach told me we don't get permissions in my disability category. They don't allow people in my disability category to take that open river water swimming. It has never been done in India before, And I had to really take a special permission and convince them that I want to do this.
यमुना किनारे दीपा को लेकर लोग नदी की तरफ बढ़े तो सब देखने को बेचैन थे कि दीपा तैरेगी कैसे, पर दीपा ने तैरना शुरू कर दिया।
Very proud that I'm back from a Leh Ladakh exhibition drive, which I did in my vehicle, driving as one of the drivers. Did 3,000 kilometers in 10 days, covering 9 high altitude passes on the highest motorable roads, doing an average of 300 kilometers per day at an average high altitude of 15,000 feet above sea level.
So
Thank
the
you.
crippled Deepa, the sad Deepa, the unlucky Deepa, the wheelchair-bound Deepa, the dependent Deepa suddenly became the biker Deepa, the car rallies Deepa, the swimmer Deepa.
I think there are more than one Deepas there. So, despite all these firsts, just before her Rio Paralympics, her integrity as an athlete was questioned. So let's hear it from Deepa herself. What was those turmoil days like?
So I trained to be a javelin thrower. In 2010, I closed down my garden restaurant in Maharashtra and I moved to Delhi. I prepared a lot. Somehow I missed London 2012. But I prepared again and everybody said, she's an old hag, she's 40 plus and what is she doing now? By 42 years of age, I had got the Arjuna Award. And they said, Arjuna Award is good enough, now she's getting greedy. She's, she should just retire now. But I prepared hard. And by 2014, I had made my second consecutive Asian record. And I had become world number 2 in my javelin throw event. But 2015, when the list came out for Rio Paralympics, there was no javelin in F53 disability category in which I play. It ended up being only shot put. Shot put is an event which I had not practiced to play at a Paralympic level. I mean, it takes a different kind of... However, there was only one world championship left within the stipulated time to qualify. I went to Doha, I practiced quickly, and I just managed to inch into the A-level qualification mark. 3.60 was the qualification mark. I got 3.67 meters just to be able to considered qualified to compete. But that didn't mean that I will be there at the Paralympics. I had to work very hard. The training changed, the diet changed. Javelin is a 600 gram speed event and shot put is a big heavy iron ball and it's a strength event. So the whole strategy changed. I adapted to the change. I adapted to the new coach and I worked very hard. And when the final trials happened, by then India had received only one female athletics quota. It had come to the country. And in that quota, we were few women athletes competing. And the result would have been the closest to the medal will go to play the Paralympics from India. I threw that day a distance of 4.48 meters, which was equivalent to, on that day, world number 1 ranking. And I was hoping next day in the morning, obviously the quota was mine because the other girl was ranking 5th. The third girl did not make it to any decent place. And I slept very happy thinking that morning I'll wake up and news will be flashing that first ever athlete to qualify, to represent and all that. And the first female who would be actually going out there. Instead, the newspapers had something else written in it. They said, Deepa has been dragged to the High Court for cheating her way in the selection trials. And the article said that there is no way that a woman her age can increase the shot put distance from 3.67 to 4.48 meters. And for that, my fellow athlete had taken me, which was very sad. And I had to battle in the court and battle with the media. People went as far as saying, you know, she knows how to speak English, इसलिए इसका selection हो गया. I said, ये मैंने पहली बार सुना है. And there was a lot of pressure, but I want you to see that video, that what were those 20 days like, and you must read the book that tells about that agony, the pressure. As it is playing at the Olympic level, the world's highest stage of performance for an athlete is so challenging. On top of them, you know, 3 generations in army who has served the country with honesty, integrity, and you are being accused of lying, cheating. 4.48 was something that I had to cross to save myself. It was no longer a thirst, motivation to win a medal. You know, you definitely want to win a medal for the country. But I knew that now it has become a medal for my honesty, for my integrity. So again, an adversity nudged me into the right direction, because this time my motivation had multiplied. The fire within me had, though I have to give a lot of thanks to my daughters, to my mental health trainers. I often remember Saran and Preeti. They were by my side, not letting my mental strength go down. My coach, Weber, who used to come to the courthouse, and we would exercise there. So I want to share this video of my Rio performance. Please pay attention to the result. 4.48 is what I had to get. An entire country and the sports fraternity.
Yes, the women's shot put F53 final, this a seated throwing event. And this is Deepa Malik of India. All the throws happening together. Malik, who's won silver in the shot in the 2011 World Championships. She's from New Delhi. It was a decent one out towards 5 meters here. And that's 4.61.
Well, here's history. India's first ever female Paralympic medalist in any sport, Deepa Malik, picks up the silver. From New Delhi, silver medalist in the javelin in the 2014 Asian Games. First major change was actually in Delhi for the Commonwealth Games in 2010. They have a strong parasports program embedded within. But Deepa Malik receives India's historic silver.
So I think when your energies are channelized in a positive direction and not letting them take you towards negativity, that is something I am really grateful to Almighty for giving me that blessing, that I'm able to churn. I say, bring it on. And I churn the energies into positivity. And I won the medal with 4.61, which was even 13 centimeter more than for which I was dragged to the High Court.
I think that's a very good mantra. All of us should use this mantra, bring it on. We'll move on to the next question. Deepa, you have spoken about disability in a very, very broad sense and in a more generic sense. For most of us, disability is either physical or mental disability. But her perspective will keep you all, I don't know what to say. It's a very different perspective, and the way she looks at disability in a generic sense is mind-blowing, guys. Deepa.
I think we stereotype a term. We say disability because we have normalized a certain thing. Walking is normal and this is normal. I say that everybody is different. What is normal? Your normal will never be my normal. My normal will never be your normal. Your perception is different. Your looks are different. We don't have the same nose, we don't have the same eyes, we don't have the same height, we don't have the same thoughts. Then why do we normalize something so much that it shifts its gears towards making a perception negative and limiting? You know, so many times I have felt that is it me who's paralyzed in the body, or is it the outlook of others who are limiting them and making their thoughts paralyzed? I'll tell you a very small example. 5 President Awards and a protocol card that I have earned. And I'm going on the airport, to the airport, and I'm entering on a wheelchair, being pushed by the wheelchair attendant, the staff of the airport. And I'm going into the VIP gate, and the person is saying, wheelchair yahan se nahi jati hai. Wheelchair yahan se nahi jati hai. So then that person halts. I said, please keep moving. When I come closer, they say, क्या मैडम हिंदी नहीं आता है या सुन भी नहीं सकते हो? जब बोला व्हीलचेयर यहाँ से नहीं जाएगी, ये वीआईपी एंट्री है. एंड आई आस्क्ड दैट जेंटलमैन, आई सेड ये कौन सी रूल बुक पे लिखा है कि वीआईपी व्हीलचेयर पे बैठ के नहीं आ सकता? एंड लाइक टुडे we had a ramp, but definitely because I don't have torso balance, I can't wheel myself up. We had 4 people pushing me. Sometimes we don't have the ramp. If people are not making a ramp, your organization, your infrastructure is paralyzed, not me. Right? So I'm being carried. And so many times when I'm being carried, people say, हाय बड़ी सुंदर दिखती है बेचारी, 4 लोग उठा रहे हैं, जिंदा लाश हो गई. And I turn around and I say, क्यों? महारानियों की पालकियां भी तो 4 लोग उठाते. So it's about perception. I often feel that thanks to me, I become a medium of good deed of others. पाप धोने हैं तो मेरी मदद करो. You will get brownie points with the Almighty. So मैं तो आप लोगों के लिए आई हूँ. आप मेरी मदद करो और अच्छे कर्म करो. You know, like I'm God sent. It's how you feel about yourself. So that is one thing. And मैं आपको बता दूँ, during the demonetization time, I was in full demand. My friends would call me, they would book slots with me. ATM की लाइन 2-2 किलोमीटर लंबी थी और मुझे ले जाते थे और मैं जहां खड़ी हो जाती हूँ लाइन वहीं से शुरू हो जाती.
So Deepa, on the same note, many of us, I'm sure, want to step out and make a difference like what you have done. But we somewhere hesitate to get out of our comfort zones and we are at crossroads. So what would your advice be to such of us?
You said in Canada my name needs Deepa.
Yes,
And
right.
incidentally I am Karnataka born. I'm born in Bangalore. And it is here in the land of Karnataka my father named me Deepa. Or remembering my father, I'll answer that in my poem. Poetry I write in Hindi. I'm okay with English speaking and prose, but not poetry. So मेरे नाम का मतलब मेरे पापा ने जब रखा होगा तो उन्होंने कहा, आग की ज्वाला सा, ज्योति के उजाला सा, आग की ज्वाला सा, ज्योति के उजाला सा, दीपा रखा है मैंने नाम तुम्हारा, जीवन के किसी भी संघर्ष से डर न जाना, दीपा बेटी मेरी तुम सदा उम्मीद का एक नया दिया जलाना.
Wow.
So I think to keep your hope alive, and when you say उम्मीद का नया दिया जलाना, it's like it's better to light a lamp than to curse the darkness. And I have always believed in the sense of accepting the change, because any disruption, any obstacle is nothing but a little change that happens from the your already preset movement of your life. So the disruption is always an obstacle or a change. So I say that the sooner you accept the change, you adapt to the change. And adapting is usually about honing a new skill. finding a new direction, finding a solution. I've always been a solution finding person, and that's what I tell everybody, that whenever you hit the rock bottom or you hit a dead end, try opening a new door, you know. And winners are those who have the courage to walk through that door. So that's what I would say.
Deepa, you have helped shape policies and created pathways for para-athletes. Through your NGO, Wheeling Happiness, countless lives have been touched. I remember a parent once, knowing that I'm a triathlete, come to me asking for help to train his disabled child. He wanted to make his disabled child a triathlete. So he asked me, how do I go about training him? I was clueless. I didn't know where to send him. So when the parent asked me, I was clueless. I didn't know where to send him, how to train this disabled child. I think for many of us who want to help somebody in that situation, would you?
Yeah, I think today, Elaji's book itself says about AI. Now we have a lot of information on the tips of our fingertips. But when I started playing, we had a lot of difficulty. We did not have really an organized federation. But today there is a lot of information there. Anybody wants to play in disability sports, we have the International Paralympic Committee's website. Currently, I'm serving with the Asian Paralympic Committee also as a board member. I'm the former president for the Paralympic Committee of India. So everything has a website out there.
Yeah, but someone to start
yeah,
at the root level.
At the root level,
yeah.
yeah. So that's where I'm coming in. Like I think the first and foremost is to gain knowledge, try and reach out to these websites to understand which sport is actually meant for you. That is the first. Then assess your body, which I think a physiotherapist or somebody, a local hospital can help you. Get the paperwork done. And see, grassroots levels, we still have a lot of challenge because it's very easy for me to tell somebody, I get these calls, like you said, हमें भी आप जैसा बनना है. And to tell them, मेरे जैसे बनने के लिए आपको जिम भी चाहिए, आपको घर से निकल के एक स्पोर्ट्स फैसिलिटी में भी आना है, आपको you need a coach also. So to get all that, and that's exactly what we are doing. And incidentally, I'm very proud to say that I think I have been brought up by my daughters. Usually, mothers bathe their children, they put them in their diapers, they get them ready, they put them in their prams, they pack their bags with extra diapers, clothing, their feeding bottles, take the children out to a park to play. In my case, my daughters have bathed me. They have put me in diapers. They have put me on my pram, my stroller. They have packed my gym bags with my protein bottles, and they have wheeled me internationally to different sports. So, Devika, the girl who got paralyzed, all right, her left hand is shorter than her right. Maybe when she walks, she limps a bit, but neither her will is limping, nor her dreams are short. Today, we are the only mother-daughter duo in the world who have played together internationally and won the awards and medals for the country. And together, we are doing our bit to support children at the grassroots level. And I want to share a video here, if possible, as to what exactly the NGO is doing. And again, I give a lot of credit to my daughter for getting this going.
Hi, I'm Devika. I'm one of the founders of Wheeling Happiness. Due to an impact on the right side of the brain, the compression led to hemiplegia on the left side of my body. So it started out with complete paralysis on both the left limbs. Dealing with this disability from childhood is what led my parents to introduce me to outdoor activities, and it is what made us realize that sports is a really effective way to rehabilitate people with disabilities. Wheeling Happiness as an organization, our core belief was to help people with challenges. Even if you have a challenge, you're still a person and you still have that basic need for companionship, for entertainment, for recreation. And so Wheeling Happiness really was born out of all of that. We try to also have a lot of workshops with children in mainstream schools because it's not only about empowering people with disabilities, but also mentally empowering people who do not suffer from any disability as such to broaden their mental horizons towards integration and social inclusion. The Queen's Young Leaders Award really, when I first got the news, I really was speechless because beyond anything else, it's really a validation and a recognition that says, yes, I am moving in the right direction and there is a lot more that I can do. I'm just really very grateful to have received this honor.
Devika Malik from India.
We do have Devika here. Devika, could we?
Devika, take a bow.
Take a bow. Thank you. So, if somebody really wants to get into this, is this a day scholar or it comes with a hostel facility? How was the selection for your Wheeling Happiness?
So Wheeling Happiness, would you like to answer that? I would like Devika to answer that because that's more her baby than mine.
Good evening, everyone. Specifically to your question, ma'am, we do not have a facility where we ask people to come and stay. And the reason for that is that is a temporary fix. I can make someone stay with me for 2 months, 3 months. But our goal is to empower people in their own communities, in their own surroundings. So a lot of times what we have done is that we have gone into villages, we have assessed the area where the people live, and we have created ramps in their own homes, in their community parks to make their spaces more accessible for them. And we provide them with high quality accessibility aids. Like for example, there is a wheelchair in a hospital that you can get for 5,000 also, but that's not going to make you very mobile. You're not going to be able to go out on the kind of roads that we have in our country, and they will not last you very long. So we provide higher quality aids, and sometimes we even get that question. So we have to justify to our donors why it costs that much, but also it helps them to navigate life with more ease for 3-4 years. And all over India, we are making these accessibility aids reach them so that they can become more mobile and more well adjusted within their own communities. And I think a small example of that mom often likes to recount is that, sometimes there are people who've been sitting within their own 4 walls for 10 years before they are able to get access to this wheelchair that we provide. And then they go outside and, sit under a tree, or they go outside and maybe buy vegetables with their fellow ladies in the community. And even something like that much of community integration also brings them so much joy. But apart from that, of course, we are assisting people to, like Mom was saying, identify which sport works for them and how they can advance in that. And especially at the very starting level, when they're not getting any sponsorships, when they're not aided by any government schemes, to start, because when you have some sort of achievement, then you start getting a lot of aid. But until the time that you're able to prove yourself, that's where we come in and plug that gap. And we also assist a lot of young people to pursue their education by identifying accessible universities and schools where they can go and study, and then we sponsor that as well.
Thank you, Devika. Deepa, the world wants to know, and especially Mysore, a more personal question. How would your typical day begin and how would it end? Yeah.
Crazy my days are. My days, typically if you ask my children, they say she doesn't like to have a free day. Even on the day she's supposed to be free, she creates work for herself. They say I have OCD. But my day differs. It usually starts early. I'm an early riser. I can't sleep beyond 6, so I wake up early. Today, I'll be lying if I say I'm doing regular exercises. I'm not, but I'm active. But there's a lot of phone calls, emails, Then you have, there's a lot of travel for seminars. You have to do your NGO work. I studied at the age of, you climbed a mountain, Everest, not a mountain. I studied at the age of 53. I joined the courses in the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. So now I am also a director in one of the companies. So whatever the day demands, but definitely stepping out of the house once a day. If it's an off day, then it has to be a movie, or I just go take the dogs out to play in the garden area. I love driving. I'm a movie buff. I love theatre, Ilaji. I take children to theatre, and my children, my son-in-law is here, my daughter-in-law is here. They actually flew from Delhi to NMACC to see the Mangalyavas performance, the folk artist, where they had that vertical stage. So I'm so proud to have children who go to theatre and who go to hear the folk songs. So it's like we typically a flavor of outdoors. If it's a weekend, I could be biking around with the bikers. Yeah, so as the day demands.
Thank you. So with this, we'll end the question and answer round. You want to get to know more about her, bring it on. So please buy the book and go through it. You will
This
get more
area
insights
would be the
into
rapid
her.
fire, I guess.
Yeah. So some light-hearted, insightful rapid-fire questions for Deepa. On page 53 of Bring It On, you said, "I love making the people who matter to me feel special." Could you share that moment when you made someone feel special and a time when someone made you feel truly special?
I think, let me take to someone made me special. I give a lot of gratitude to my daughters because I'm born, ma'am, I know my birthday, it was 30th of September, I was born. But 3rd of June 1999 is when could have been a day of death if the tumor surgery didn't go well. But I lived. And still people said that, oh my God, now she'll be caged in this body, she'll be a lifelong dependent, she'll die in her own urine and feces. And 3rd of June would come, and the first time the 3rd of June came after I was, my mother wept. And something was there that my daughters noticed. So every 3rd of June now in our house is called the Phoenix birthday. And they make it so special. It is celebrated much bigger than my own birthday. So incidentally, 27 June is my anniversary and 3rd June is my rebirth. So month of June we have a huge bash combining the two. So because every year of a married life that my husband passes, he gets a new birth. Because he survived me another year. And so I think that's where they made me feel very special. And I like that idea. And I'm happy that my daughters could think. My daughters even got a phoenix bird tattooed to celebrate that. And what we did special, I think what it comes to me now that we are here. So as Wheeling Happiness, we were nurturing a girl who wanted to compete internationally. Hearing and speech impaired girl. She had won Miss Deaf India and wanted to represent India at the Miss World. So for 4 months we nurtured her, we got a stylist, we got somebody to teach her how to do the ramp walk and everything. But the biggest surprise that we could give her, ma'am, was for her final look, we had the outfit come from Sabyasachi. Along with the jewelry of Sabyasachi. And we had a stylist travel with the girl to South Africa. And can you beat it? She became the Miss World.
Wonderful.
So I think that was, and you know, when you do something good for the other person, it comes right back. So everybody wants to be a Sabya bride, now they say. For my Padma Shri, Sabyasachi sent me the outfit. So the traditional outfit that I'm wearing on my Padma Shri is by Sabyasachi. So I think this is what comes to my mind.
This is really wonderful. Moving on to the second one. You're known for your chic fashion sense. What's your go-to comfort style statement?
Um, uh, I think for me, my best outfit is my Indian tracksuit. When you have your tricolor here and you have India written at the back, you can wear it anywhere, anytime, and it is accepted.
Wonderful.
It's the most comfortable traveling outfit, and it creates that identity. I may not be able to stand when the national anthem is played, but whenever I won a medal from my country, 140 Indians stood up, 140 crore Indians stood up. That's my style statement.
You're the epitome of positivity, but is there any weakness or self-doubt that ever challenges that?
The only weakness of self-doubt I have is when I'm about to catch a flight. I'm always in fear of being late. And I think that is one weakness I have. I'm so punctual, so time-bound that if the time I'm getting late, I start losing it. I like to be punctual. And my daughters tell me if I ever have a heart attack, that will be on my way to the airport. I don't know why I have this fear of missing a flight. Yeah.
Have you ever missed it?
My daughters have, not me.
What's your favorite comfort anytime food?
I love chaat.
Chaat.
I love chaat. Though it's a no-no in some of the dietary days, but if you ask me my comfort.
Yes.
So I don't want to throw any, gyan here. I'm being very honest. I'm most comfortable having this golgappas and papri chaats. But let that not be anybody's comfort food. Let it be just a cheat food.
You married young at 19.
Yes.
You and Bikram sir have been together for over 30 years now. What keeps a spark alive in your relationship?
We've had ups and downs. When you read the book, it also talks about the husband-wife relationships. It's not easy to go through such a drastic change in your body, and then still, and then you have so many aspirations that are so out of the box that the husband doesn't even, he also gets stereotypically bitten that it can't happen. But when you say the spark alive, there's a famous saying that the term happily married man is a myth. The person can only be happy man or a married man. He can only be happily married if he's a yes man. So I brought him up well to say yes to everything.
I hope all men here are listening.
We appreciate each other's hobbies. I'll tell you one very small example. I got a new car, and so my friend didn't know that I drive. And this is a car which was gifted to me by Anand Mahindra ji for the hard work that I did. So a brand new XUV, totally modified. And I go to my girly gang get together, and I come in this big SUV and like swerve and driving it, and then coming out of it is totally new. The number is applied for. So it clearly shows it's just first of the lot and gifted to me. And I get out of there, and one of my friends says, brand new car, your husband allows you to drive it? And I said, oh, but I never took permission. And I earned this on my own. So that's where I feel that, I never had to take permissions from him. I think that's what keeps the thing going.
Who was your first actor crush?
Oh, many actually. Any character who's riding a bike, whether it was a Tom Cruise or a John Abraham or a Hrithik Roshan in Dhoom or oh, oh my God! Oh, you planted this question. Devika, you did this. There you go. There you go. See? Yeah. So, yeah. Any actor who's on a bike is my crush. And I got this golden opportunity to actually ride bikes with John Abraham. You know, people, my kids always said, our mom is hot and her life is so cool. John Abraham actually picked me up and put me on the bike.
Oh.
So I have been carried in the arms of John Abraham.
What genre of books or movies or shows do you love to watch?
I love everything. I think a lot of hard work goes. I'm not a voracious reader, but I think everybody should read now that I have written a book. And even my publisher says that forget about all your stardom, you are just a bookseller now. So go sell your book. So I'm here to sell my book. So please read books. Read Elaji's book. Read my book. We've written with a lot of love. And I love comedy. I love serious movies also. Because like I said, every movie is made with a lot of love. Every thing. I love going to theater also. So yes, I love everything. I can watch anything.
Anything.
Yes.
Oh. Moving on to the last question here. If given a second chance, is there anything in your life you would do differently?
I think I would probably be a better mother. I've tried to be a good mother.
Devika?
But I think there's a lot that I missed because there was a gap when I was totally homebound in the initial years till the time I really discovered and found a way out. I was disconnected with the outer world. I probably missed parenting the children. I gave them the values, but I did not understand the metamorphosis or the change that the world was going outside. So I was a little more strict with my daughters, or maybe I was scared, or maybe I was, since I couldn't move much myself, I would try and restrict them sometimes. And one thing I regret, my younger daughter had made it to a particular course, but that meant that she would have stayed far away from me. And due to my rehabilitation, sports journey, and my exercises, and somewhere because I'm a case of repetitive tumors, for some time I distanced myself. I said, you know, I want them not to be so used to me, because if I die, they should miss me. So that fear. So I didn't want to let her go very far from me. She wanted to do a certain course in a certain city, and I asked my younger one to stay back, close to me, do a different course. Probably I would change that. I would have let her go and do that. I think that is something I would have. I still feel I should have done that.
Deepa, thank you for your candor, your humor,
Thank you.
and above all, your unshakable optimism.
Thank you.
You have not only broken barriers, but also built bridges for millions to walk across with
Thank you.
dignity
Thank
and courage.
Thank you so much.
Mysuru and this literature festival are deeply grateful to have had you shine your light on your
Thank you
final
so
day.
much. Thank you. Lots of love.